The SCP Foundation is full of creepy monsters such as SCP-682, 096, and 173. But perhaps the most dangerous anomalies in the SCP Foundation are the anomalous microorganisms that can eradicate us through a pandemic. Let's take a break from all the recent events and news and instead check out what kind of viruses are to be found in the SCP Wiki. Before we begin, we would like to quickly address the current situation. As the world battles this terrible disease, we should all do our part to protect ourselves, the people around us, and especially our elderly parents and grandparents. We advise you to stay at home, always wear a mask in public, wash your hands after contact, and follow the instructions of your local authorities. Stay safe. Number 5. SCP-081. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-081 is a contagious virus that appears to be a mutant of an unknown virus. It only causes symptoms in humans, with rats as passive carriers. SCP-081 can be spread through rat exposure or body fluids including sexual intercourse and blood-to-skin contact. SCP-081 infects blood and fat cells, inducing both to absorb nutrients at a vastly accelerated rate. As the nutrients are absorbed, infected B cells produce and secrete large quantities of a modified human antibody. The disease goes through 4 stages of development. During the first week, there are no major symptoms. During the second stage, subjects will begin to experience hot flashes and an increased appetite, allowing them to absorb even more nutrients in their cells. In the next stage, the appetite will increase even further, and subjects will do anything possible to obtain food. In the last stage, when the body fat percentage reaches 55, the urge to eat will stop. Soon after, the expanding fat cells will reach a critical concentration of nutrients, and an unknown mechanism will trigger a chain reaction of combustion, which incinerates the body from the inside out, with the additional fat serving as a fuel source. Due to the lack of general disease symptoms, subjects are never aware what is about to happen to them. And if this disease sounds similar to a famous real-life myth, that's because it is. As explored in our top 5 real-life SCPs video, SCP-081 is the cause for the famous spontaneous human combustion myth. Being burned alive is certainly a terrifying way to die, so hopefully the Foundation manages to find a cure for the deadly virus before a pandemic, on the scale which we are seeing now, occurs. Number 4. SCP-2546. Object Class: Keter. SCP-2546 is the collective designation for an unknown number of retroviruses, similar to HIV. It primarily spreads through sexual contact and bloodstream exposure, making person-to-person spread primarily limited to sexual partners. The anomalous effects begin upon infection of a single cell within the host's body. Unlike other viruses, the primary function of SCP-2546 is not only to propagate itself, but also to physically alter its host. SCP-2546 will proceed to dismantle the existing chromosomes of a cell, utilizing its proteins to unwind, destroy, and replace the host's chromosomes, utilizing the old particles as building blocks. It is not known how exactly these proteins are able to synthesize and organize these new chromosomes without a template. The average time between initial infection and the chromosome replacement is estimated to be between 3 to 5 days. As a direct result of SCP-2546's chromosome replacement, infected individuals are subject to a long, painful, and severely distressing transformation. They undergo a genetic, physical, and mental transformation into the corresponding person, taking anywhere from 1 to 10 years. Symptoms of infection vary from individual to individual, and may not be noticeable immediately due to the lengthy reproductive cycle of each virus. Some of the more notable symptoms include a change of height, a change of muscle mass and fat content, a progression or reduction of aging, changes in skin pigmentation, personality shifts, memory loss, gradual gain of the corresponding person's memory, and many more. And rarely, when the host organism is physically very different from the transmitter, internal trauma caused by the gradual shift may lead to the host expiring. SCP-2546 is very different from all other entries on this list, as it is generally not lethal. It isn't necessarily dangerous either, as it merely mixes our identities, causing us to become someone else. We doubt that this is something many of us would like to experience, however, so hopefully the Foundation will manage to find a cure to this weird anomalous HIV variation. Number 3. SCP-610. Object Class: Keter. SCP-610, also known as the Flesh That Hates, is a contagious skin disease with symptoms including rash and itching. Within a few hours, the disease will cause blemishes in the body, consuming the victim completely within 5 hours. After the infection occurs, the victim's life functions will cease for a few minutes, after which they will restart at twice the activity rate of a normal human. Following this, the tissue on the victims will start to grow at a rapid rate. Normal human features start to disappear at this point, and the path of mutation appears to be random. Subjects observed have been recorded growing 3 or more limbs. The head may become misshapen, and parts of the subject may split open from which additional branches of flesh will grow. An infected individual will later root itself in a given location. The fleshy growth on the victim will then begin to spread itself across all surroundings and consume them. Observation of life infected by SCP-610 by staff is impossible, which is why remote robots have been used. Those infected with the disease immediately seek out aid as a natural human impulse, resulting in unintended infections. Those infected actively and aggressively attempt to infect others. It has been established that should an infected be capable of sight of an uninfected, it will proceed towards them. Whether the victim retains their conscience after they're afflicted is currently unknown. Containment of SCP-610 is relatively easy, as the infection only needs to be physically enclosed to halt its further spread. However, what makes the Flesh That Hates a part of the best viral SCPs is that no physical limitations to the size of the infected mass have been observed, leading us to believe that a containment breach could lead to an uncontrollable infection and cause an XK-class end-of-world scenario. Number 2. SCP-008. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-008, featured in the famous SCP Containment Breach game, is a complex prion, an infectious agent similar to a virus with one major difference, that it does not contain DNA. This pathogen is transmitted through exposed mucous membranes and all bodily fluids, but fortunately isn't airborne and waterborne. It is 100% infectious, however, and has up-to-date caused all humans that have been infected with it to expire. Symptoms of infection with SCP-008 manifest no more than 3 hours after exposure, and include flu-like symptoms with high fever, plus severe dementia in later stages. After infection, the red blood cells greatly increase oxygen storage capacity, resulting in slower blood flow and rapidly increased muscle endurance and strength. In contrast, infected subjects' cognitive abilities are significantly retarded, and their motor controls and instincts appear to be damaged. Metabolism may decrease to extremely low levels, theoretically allowing a subject to survive for over 10 years without nutrition. Subjects can adapt to their damaged nervous system but are limited to basic physical activities, such as standing up, balancing on 2 legs, walking, biting, grabbing, and crawling. They will energetically move towards sights, sounds, and smells they associate with living humans. When in contact with humans, infected individuals will attempt to ingest said humans. Due to their increased physical strength, neutralization of fully infected subjects is very difficult and requires significant physical injuries. Approximately 20 hours after the first symptoms appear, however, subjects will expire on their own due to a coma onset. There is strong evidence to suggest SCP-008 itself did not form naturally on Earth and is instead of alien origin, since microorganisms of similar complexity would have displaced much of the ecosystem due to their superior characteristics. We can only hope that this infectious disease doesn't spread on a massive scale, as an outbreak with a mortality and infectiousness of 100% would be much harder to deal with than what we're dealing with right now. Number 1. SCP-3020. Object Class Keter. SCP-3020 is a microorganism that only affects humans, believed to be closely related to the rabies virus. The disease is incurable, but treatable at early stages. SCP-3020 operates by feeding on dopamine, which causes a severe dopamine deficiency in the body, causing symptoms resembling Parkinson's disease and depression. SCP-3020 spreads through the sweat and tears of an infected subject, and the pathogens are capable of surviving in very harsh conditions outside of the human body. The organism is capable of surviving temperatures of down to -22 Fahrenheit or -30 Celsius, and when above this temperature, SCP-3020 is capable of surviving outside of the human body indefinitely. Its symptoms can be classified into 5 stages. During the first stage, subjects begin having bouts of paranoia, particularly that they are being hated by all people they know. During the second stage, the paranoia becomes more severe, and subjects believe that all of their associates want them to die. All who enter depression at this stage tremor violently, due to the dopamine deficiency causing symptoms of Parkinson's. Physical contact at this stage will lead to a high chance of infection. In the next stage, the lack of dopamine leads to outbursts of anger. Subjects often contemplate suicide, but only half of them carry it out at this stage. Next up, subjects become incapable of feeling tactile or pain sensation. Infected individuals will often remain sedentary for days at a time, due to SCP-3020 multiplying within their system at a rapid rate. Finally, in the last phase, about 2/3 of subjects attempt suicide, but are often unable to move due to the severity of their tremors. Subjects will often plead to die or be killed at this point. Physical contact with them provides relief to the symptoms, but also carries a high risk of infection. Following the death of a subject, SCP-3020 eggs will appear in all bodily fluids and tissues, further increasing the risk of an infection. SCP-3020 is not only an extremely unpleasant way to die, due to its effects on the human body, but is also extremely dangerous due to its high infectiousness. Let's hope we don't see a mass suicide outbreak like in the movie Bird Box anytime soon. This concludes our top 5 virus SCPs list. So what do you think? Which virus would be the most dangerous one if a global pandemic occurred? Let us know in the comments below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content, as we have many more interesting top 5 SCP videos planned, and very soon we are testing a very famous anomaly inside SCP-3008. And as always, we will see you in the next video.